Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, it has been almost 6 months and even the end of holy month of Ramadan. But illegitimate state of Israel and its occupation forces continued their genocidal assault on Gaza, particularly in the center, north and now towards the other areas. As a result of this assault, at least 33,037 innocent civilians died, including 13,000 children and 8,400 women. 75,668 innocent Palestinians injured, while more than 8,000 are still missing in rubble. World Food Programme warned that at least 576,000 or 0.57 million innocent Palestinians are facing famine-like situation, acute famine in Gaza. While in coming months, at least till May, 1.1 million of the Palestinians are going to face this situation. In a rare move, US President Joe Biden demands ultimate ceasefire in Gaza, and along with that he conditions military aid with safety of aid workers. But ironically, at the same time, the same US government has approved transfer of thousands of bombs to Israel. On the other hand, United Nations will examine today a draft resolution moved by Pakistan on behalf of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Muslim countries are actually demanding from the United Nations Human Rights Council to have embargo on Israel, the arm embargo. Along with that, Palestine also approached United Nations to have full membership of this international body, as Palestine still having the status of an observer state from the last many years. In 2011, they have given an application, but unfortunately that is still pending. United Nations Security Council take up this issue in coming days, probably on 8th of April. To discuss this grave situation of Palestine, particularly Gaza, we have in our studios Mr. Shabbir Ahmad Wahgra. He is the Incharge reporting at PTB World. Most welcome to you, Shabbir. Thank you. And also Fraz Naqvi, he is the research scholar and also Incharge Iran program at the Institute of Regional Studies. Most welcome to you, Fraz. Thank you very much for being here. And online we have joining us Brigadier retired Hamid Rasheed Malik. He is the senior analyst. Most welcome to you, Brigadier Sahab. My first question to you, Brigadier Sahab, that on 25th of March there was a resolution passed by the UN Security Council. It was a rare move when United States abstained and the resolution was passed. That was 27-28 adopted, and that has actually stressed upon Israel to have ceasefire, and humanitarian aid must have to go through to the affected people. But do you think that there is any hope to have that resolution implemented in letter and spirit?
Faisal, and I think this is the most annoying fact at the present moment. What we see that the international organization, presently the United Nations, and the most powerful organ in that is the Security Council. And after so many failures, after 6 months, a resolution was passed for a permanent ceasefire in between Israel and Palestine. But here again we see that the implementation part is still missing.
It was just the ceasefire. The permanent, the word permanent, quote unquote, was actually floated by Russia, but that was turned down. So that was just the ceasefire.
I understand, but this is what is the final outcome which is required to be done. And I think what we also highlighted, that ceasefire means that it is the stoppage of hostilities by Israelis against the poor, innocent, unarmed Palestinians. What we see here, it is not a war between two armies. It is a might which is being supported by the superpower America and other hand are the victims, unarmed poor civilians. So from that perspective, it has been very rightly called by now the international community that it is a genocide which is being done by Israel against the Palestinians. And here also it is that we need to understand that the world power, that is the Russia as well as China, has to play now more proactive role to make sure that the resolution passed by Security Council is implemented in Latin spirit. America will keep playing the dodging games that it has already done because underhand it is supporting Israel for all its hostilities. The bigotry of the attitude of
we have a move from the US President Joe Biden that he demanded immediate ceasefire, along with that condition the military aid with the safety of aid workers within Gaza. So on the other hand, just US government approved a transfer of thousands of bombs to Israel and different weapons and arms. So how do you see what kind of hypocrisy US is playing right now?
This is the, I must say, that very obvious now that support to Israel, because while they are providing them all the arsenal, all the weapons against innocent, unarmed Palestinians, and while calling the Prime Minister of Israel and requesting him to stop hostilities against the aid workers, because there was a lot of uproar internationally and globally when the 7 aid workers were targeted on Monday. And the world understood that is the very obvious hostilities by Israelis against those poor aid workers who are supporting or feeding the starving
Central
Palestinians.
kitchen actually those aid workers belongs to.
That Israel is now trying to use. There are 3 aspects of it. One, we can say that it is bombarding and killing the innocent Palestinian. It is using starvation, lack of food, lack of water as a war strategy to defeat the will of the Palestinians for their homeland. And third is the depleting healthcare in Palestine now. Now see all those injured, all those victims.
We are moving on that direction as well. But Shabbir, when we are talking about the United Nations Human Rights Council, Pakistan has moved a draft resolution on behalf of Organization of Islamic Cooperation. 55 out of 56 countries, 55 countries out of 56, they are supporting it. Albania might be not there. But how do you see Islamic countries are demanding arm embargo upon Israel, rest of other mayors as well, but that was citing the possible risk of genocide in Gaza. So how do you see that?
Yes, Faisal, as you rightly pointed out that this particular resolution which is going to be put for voting today, and this is very important resolution in a way that we can say that resolutions have already been adopted, even UNSC resolution, which is unprecedented, as you rightly point out, because that is a big change in the US policy towards Israel. Abstaining is like supporting if we talk about UNSC, because if US would have vetoed, there would not be a voting on that very important resolution calling for ceasefire, and that abstain shows that world pressure is increasing on Israel and its allies. Especially allies are under extreme pressure, because Israel is one of the party, but allies are not the party, but they are supporting and they are under extreme pressure from inside and outside. And so this resolution is also very important in a way, because this would be the first time, if it adopted, this would be the first time in the history of UN rights body. There are little chances that this become effective, but this will add another feather in the pressure on Israel, because when there would be more pressure from the international bodies, from the Muslim countries, this will definitely have its impact, especially calling for embargo. As you rightly pointed out, on the one side, Joe Biden in his telephone talk with Netanyahu was saying that the security of like aid workers and also ceasefire to avert the disastrous situation arising due to lack of humanitarian aid in Gaza, that will determine the U.S. Future policy towards Israel. This was what he conveyed to Netanyahu in his telephone call. On the other hand, at the same time, they have approved to send more bombs to Israel. So this is like dualism and these dual standards. These countries, these world powers are being exposed before the world, and also every multilateral resolution vis-a-vis it is in UN General Assembly, in UNSC or UN Human Rights Council or OIC, whichever platform we use, have an equal weightage, especially putting moral and physical pressure on the allies, because only way I can see in aggressor like Israel can be contained is he should be alienated.
Definitely, your point well taken. Fraz, a letter written to the UN Secretary General by Palestinian Authority says that Palestine as a state must be given the full membership of the UN body to have two-state solution a reality. 140 countries are supporting that letter as well. And do you think that it's going to take effect?
Thank you, Faisal, for inviting me. Well, I think if you remember that back in 2011, same sort of resolution was given to the Secretary General of the United Nations. However, there is a mechanical issue in this whole procedure, which is that once the letter is written to the UN Secretary General, the UN Secretary General would then transfer the UN Security Council, and for that at least 9 votes out of 15 to get that letter and that resolution passed. However, on the condition that all the major states that have the veto power does not veto it. So, we see that even if we get the entirety of votes and all the veto members would also given us the vote, with the exception of even one member, for example, in this case United States, which is highly unlikely to give vote to the or give its consent to the full membership of Palestinian authorities, it is highly unlikely. So, it is highly plausible that such a letter or such a resolution or such a request would not get passed from the UN Security Council, given the apprehensions of US over the Palestinian Authority. And we have also seen that last day the UN said that UN is not a platform for Palestinian Authority to demand a state. It should be a bilateral mechanism, bilateral negotiation or bilateral arrangement between the Palestinian Authority as well as with Israel. So, it is highly unlikely that such a resolution, even if it gets the support of 140 member state, it is highly unlikely that it get passed through the UN Security Council.
So, Shabbir, what do you say about it? Because that application is there, there would be at least 9 votes required out of 15, and whether Palestinian state will get that voting from the UN Security Council, and afterwards at least 2/3 majority is required there in United Nations General Assembly to pass this overall, to get the statehood over there in the UN body, full membership, because they are right now observers over there.
Faisal, if we see that the situation and current pressure on the world powers and world community, especially different nations and different countries, then only way to stop this particular resolution is the veto, which we think so that in UNSC maybe US will do it or expected to do it. Otherwise, there are very much chances getting 9 votes required for UNSC and then a 2/3 majority in UN.
But some of the US allies like France and others, they are very eager to have two-state solution, and they have carved some sort of a paper as well. So whether US is going to adhere its own allies or straight away go for any sort of veto.
Because I think so that U.S., especially after recent passage of UNSC security ceasefire resolution, is very much under pressure from Israel. Israel, you know, immediately that very next day, Netanyahu was supposed to go to Washington and he cancelled his trip. So the U.S. Administration is under pressure, but due to that, because this is very important resolution, because once it get passed from that, although US itself is a supporter of two-state solution, because they are the one who played major role in a negotiation of that two-state solution.
Obviously.
Although Netanyahu is one of those hardliners who like actually is against two-state solution.
Yes, he is.
Within the Israeli,
they have the state policy.
Within the Israeli political forces, he is one of the hardliner who is against two-state solution. But UN and other allies, like as you know, said that other permanent members are in support of that. So if which is unlikely, US even abstain from this, then the passage will be very clear, because it gives message to others that US is not against it and they can support, because there is conscious pressure as well from the internal public. As you have seen massive protests in Europe and
definitely in United States itself,
even US itself. So their internal public pressure and a humanitarian pressure, because whatever is happening in Raza, that is unjustifiable,
unprecedented, and very sensitive.
And
really.
now inhuman, because you have been killing innocent children, you are killing innocent families, and then you are blocking their humanitarian aid, and now you are going against the international laws, killing humanitarian aid workers by blatant missile attacks on aid workers.
Definitely, your point well taken. Brigadier retired Hamid, when we are talking about such a resolution or such a letter written by the Palestinian Authority to have full membership of the UN body, so how do you see that in presence of the Israeli policy of only one state and there is no other state, and then US has the support, outright support to Israel. So how do you see that, whether that will have some life when it would be considered in the UN Security Council on April 18th?
I think it is their right that they should be recognized as a state, and from point of 1948, the Palestinian has been deprived of their bona fide right of their state in Palestine. And we have seen the world powers, they have always forgave the hostilities of Israelis against innocent Palestinians. But this is the time where now the very obvious and very apparent genocide of the Palestinian is being taken by Israel. So I think now it is a very appropriate time, and the Palestinians have forwarded their request, and it needs to be pay heed to that. And the world community presently must also be cognizant of the fact that the Palestinians are being brutalizedly subjected to worst type of genocide by Israel. And when they will be given a status of a state by the United Nations, now they will have to also go for the resolution of this issue on permanent basis, and that is always there. And that is the two-state solution. Now the world community, they must understand that Israel need to be taught a lesson. Israel is becoming a source of regional instability. See their horrific attacks against Syrian territory, inside Iraq, inside Lebanon. And what is all this? They are trying to enlarge the scope of these hostilities around the neighboring countries. But up till now, we have seen a very responsible response from their Muslim neighbors. They are trying to contain the damage. They are trying to contain this fire which has been started by Israel. And if Israel doesn't pay heed to that, and United Nations, if it doesn't go logically providing Palestine a status of state, it should be like League of Nations, because the international organization, they need to ensure stability, they need to ensure peace, they need to ensure mutual peaceful coexistence. And
Very
on that
very well elaborated. Shabbir, when we are talking about Israel, Israel doesn't listen to the world. Netanyahu wants whole of the Gaza Strip, including the West Bank as well, because according to his draconian thinking, there is no Palestine, there is only Israel.
Yes.
So, what would be the ultimate future of the innocent Palestinians in such a state?
Definitely, as you know, the level of aggression and level of brutality Israel is right now acting in Gaza and other different camps and Rafah and other areas, that shows that Netanyahu has his plans. But definitely, you know, when there is a struggle going on, once you put out of the way pressure, the reaction would be there, and Palestinians are not going anywhere. In the end, today, tomorrow, years after, there is a solution which has to be two-state solution.
Obviously,
because Muslim countries carefully, despite of their reservations, they carefully agreed on this particular solution of two-state, because they accepted the creation of Israel only on this particular that two-state solution for the regional peace and security. There would otherwise they would have not agreed on this solution. Even they have their own reservations as well. But Israel, the way it has gone to a rogue state at this particular 6 months war, this has put a lot of pressure on its allies, and this will definitely bring, although it has brought suffering, it has brought problems for Palestinians, but there is also hope when you consider yourself out of every international
Obviously,
law,
you are
out
absolutely
of
right.
everything,
Absolutely
then
right.
things will
Absolutely
definitely bring a little ray of hope as well, because when you push someone to the wall, then you cannot push further.
Yeah, definitely it is. For us, when we are talking about Netanyahu's intent to expand war in the region, we have seen there in Lebanon, we have seen there in Syria, and just recently in Damascus at the Iranian embassy. The attack was there, and Israel intend to drag any other country into the war, to just have more leverage under criticism because of the Gaza situation and all that. So they want to get rid of that criticism as well. So how do you see expansion of war by Netanyahu?
Yes, you very rightly point it out, and it is the part of Israeli strategy. That is, there are two-pronged strategy. The first part is to divert the attention, the global attention, from the atrocities committed by Israel inside Gaza. And the second one is that despite all these months, you have not seen the active participation of Israeli allies in the Gaza war. We have not seen the participation of US or any other European country or Western allied country. We have not seen that. So, in order to get the participation of its allies, Israel needs to expand its war into the other territories, and it is exactly what it is trying to do. But the Muslim countries around that has very skillfully try to avert the war. You have seen that the Hezbollah in Lebanon has not actively participated. Yes, there have been border skirmishes, but they have not gone beyond that. We have also seen that Houthis are conducting some strikes in Red Sea, but not inside Israel. And so, as we have seen in the case of Syria, in the case of Egypt and any other regional countries, and for that matter in the case of Iran as well, despite facing the terrorist incidents inside its territory and after the Damascus attack, we have not seen that much of response from Iranian side, because Iran knows that if it wants to start a war or retaliate, it would invite the global powers who are against it, like
Obviously,
the US and the European
you're right,
countries
absolutely.
as well.
So, Iran has reacted with the statements and all that. Do you think that there is going to be some sort of a retaliation in military terms from Iran? Because ultimately, because Israel provoked Iran on that account. So, do you think that if that would be done, it is going to be another Pandora box in the Middle East, because that would be not the expansion but the escalation?
Well, yes, you are very right. In terms of geographical expansion, it is not going to happen. It would get limited to this Levant region or Red Sea region. But yes, very rightly pointed out that you need to understand the Iranian psychology, that whenever it gets attacked, in a direct manner, it responds directly. It does not utilize its proxy partners or proxy network that is spread across the Middle East. So, in this case, the Iranian embassy, which is considered the part of state territory, the diplomatic immunity and the diplomatic protocol that have been given to any embassy, it is considered the part of the sovereign part of that country. So, when it is attacked, it is labeled a direct attack on Iran, and so definitely sooner or later we are going to see, it is highly likely that Iran is going to respond in a military manner either inside Israel or any Israeli asset outside of Israeli territory, but it is going to be a direct manner.
Your point well taken. Brigadier Retired Hamid, when we are talking about the blockade of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinians, UNRWA, brutal killings of the charity staff of the World Central Kitchen, do you not think that it's all with the purpose, using hunger, dehydration as a weapon of war?
I think we are again witnessing another modern day Genghis Khan or a Hitler that who believes in killing the opponents in whatever the manner it likes. It is not like that. The moral codes, the ethical codes, as well as the Geneva Convention, and there are so many, I think, conventions by the United Nations also, which protect the human rights, which doesn't allow any state to go for such a war strategy or any policy of that. But here what we see that the Israelis are being given free hand by the world powers, by the United Nations, and there is no embargo being imposed on Israelis. We have already discussed about the arm embargo, and especially when we have witnessed the Israeli attacks on the neighboring countries, arm embargo is almost natural reaction which should have been taken by now. And here also you have very rightly highlighted that now the aid is not being allowed to be given to the starving Palestinians. And as per the reports which are being now published, that 1.5 million Palestinians, they are subject to starvations, mostly the children.
Shabbir, when we are talking about the aid agencies, unfortunately, there was a very bad and negative impact came when the World Central Kitchen assistance or delegation, whatever, the convoy was hit by Israel. So soon after, there was lots of other organizations who have halted their assistance to the Palestinians, which are direly in need to have food, medicine, and water and all other amenities. So how do you see that? Because Israel is having a success in halting and just giving starvation to the Palestinians.
It is alarming, and it is very unfortunate that Palestinians' suffering increased after this particular attack on the convoy of aid workers, because and their reaction and other we can understand the reaction by other international aid agencies, because the safety of their workers is
obviously
prime important to them as well. So they have a responsibility, but the people they are sending for the aid in a war zone, they have the responsibility towards their families as well. So that reaction is understandable, but that is very unfortunate, because when we say that Gaza is facing a famine-like situation, or they are they are going to face, they are already facing it.
Yes,
because
definitely.
Because if we see about around 1.5 million people, they don't have food, because the last time I was seeing a very interesting report from Al Jazeera, where they have made this report on a family who was giving bread to different people who were passing by in convoy, and they said that we have seen bread after 2 months. So this is alarming. That was simple bread, nothing else.
Unfortunately.
This is really
for us, when we are talking about, because World Food Program has alarmed, and it's really a dangerous situation, that at least 0.57 million people, they are already in acute famine situation, and 1.1 million or more than that, they are facing it till May. So how do you see that? Because ultimately it's Israel is giving death with starvation to the people of Gaza.
Yes, you rightly pointed out. In fact, the humanitarian organization have reported that by mid-July, the entirety of Gaza, whether it be the northern Gaza, the central part of it, or the southern part, it would be virtually under the acute famine. In fact, the northern Gaza is already facing the acute famine, which is in phase 5, the highest level of famine. And Gaza is right now is the only country or the only territory across the globe that is facing famine. Not even Afghanistan, Ethiopia, Somalia. They are in the process of being suffered from famine in the near future, but not right now. So Gaza is the only territory in this globe as of now, as we speak, that is facing and suffering from famine. And one another fact is that Israel has killed the most amount of aid workers, the most number of aid workers in any conflict right now that we have seen in comparison for the past 30 years of any conflictual zone or conflictual area.
You're absolutely right.
And
absolutely
my colleague,
right. And when we are talking about WHO's figures, Brigadier Retired Hamid, WHO has verified that at least 906 attacks on healthcare facilities, healthcare workers in Gaza, in West Bank and in Lebanon as well, that resulted into the death of 736 paramedics, doctors and all other staff, and even 1014 injuries. So how do you see that? Because they are not spared even because they are the people who are the messiahs and they are there to save lives.
Faisal, here I would like to highlight that any attack by armed forces against hospitals, against civilian establishment is considered a war crime. And only Israel is, I think, being allowed to go with these hostilities unchecked. And we have also the news that out of 36 hospitals, only 2 or 3 are functional, and that too with very reduced supply of healthcare facilities. And here all those, just see, on one hand, the Palestinians are being subjected to hostile shelling and bombardment, and on the other hand, they are not being allowed to get the required healthcare facilities so that the injured are being attended to, the doctors are being killed, ambulances are being shelled, being attacked. And what all is this? It is all inhuman.
The Shifa hospital was brutally attacked, brutally bombarded by the Israeli occupation forces, and at least 400 of the patients, the doctors, the paramedics, they were all died over there. 300 bodies only recovered right now. So this is the unprecedented thing which is going on. Shabbir, when we are talking about Israel's killing spree right now, that is not limited to the medical aid workers, to the citizens, to the doctors, paramedics and all others, but journalists, hundreds of journalists, at least 100 journalists killed till now. And according to an estimate that every day one journalist losing his or her life while reporting the Israel's atrocities into Gaza. So how do you see that? Just recently we have witnessed that Israeli regime ordered not to air one of the channel, the Arab channel, that is Al Jazeera. So how do you see that? Because that is cruelty really.
That is indeed a cruelty, and that is also one of a big question mark. Like whatever Israel is doing, that is inhuman and that is unthinkable. But a question mark for the United States and other European allies of Israel, who set themselves or represent themselves or portray themselves as champions of free information, champions of human rights. Where are the human rights of the people who are suffering in like Palestine? Where are the human rights of those like right to freedom, free expression, or right to information of those journalists who are being killed, over 100 journalists by the Israeli occupied forces? And also this particular move that they have taken recently, and you mentioned that their parliament has passed the law and they stopped the most popular channel in the Middle East to give news from a conflict zone, which is right now the focus of whole world. It is not an isolated place, or it is not an isolated war zone, because the whole region of Middle East is being affected by it, and largely the whole world, because Israel has backing of whole Europe.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. For us, when we are talking about what's happening in the Middle East, it seems that it might be pre-planned and in connivance with the Western allies who are standing right now with Israel. So, do you think that it's a game towards a greater Israel?
Well, it has been the strategy and policy of Israel since its inception in 1948 that it want to reclaim the Davidian empire. It runs in their psychology. So the problem which we are facing right now vis-a-vis Israel is that either they are hyper nationalist or hyper religious. The current government of Israel is hyper religious, and Netanyahu itself believes in the biblical phenomena and all that prophecies that Israel would be reclaimed and all its territory would get back. It is similar to that of the Hindutva ideology of India, that we would have the territory encompassing from Afghanistan till up to current day Bangladesh. So it runs in their blood, and it is you rightly pointed out that the amount of atrocities and their non-reluctant way of committing cruelty and brutality.
So do you think that what they have already planned, the 6-week Rafah invasion, ground assault, do you think that it is still on cards, and Israel is going to have that despite of the huge opposition to that, and they are intended to push Palestinians out of Gaza?
Well, on paper the policy is still is still present, but however at the strategic or tactical level it is highly unlikely that it is going to happen anywhere soon, because the number of people that are currently residing in the Rafah, it is very difficult to just kick them out from that territory, and if it is going to happen, it would definitely,
because this is the last shelter city for those,
after that there is no shelter anywhere for
Obviously,
the Palestinians.
yes, it is.
So it is highly unlikely, and if it is going to happen, it would definitely going to invoke the retaliation from the enemies of Israel, the Muslim countries that are bordering
So
Israel.
Shabbir, when we are talking about the role of West, do you think that West is also responsible for the genocide, for the atrocities of the aid workers, the Palestinians, the journalists and all others? They are also responsible for that, what is happening?
Yes, Faisal, because if why I am saying it is with great conviction that they are responsible, because when this conflict started in October last year, their responsible behavior would have averted all these more than 33,000 deaths of Palestinians, plus like more than 56,000 injuries and all this destruction what we have seen, that could have been averted if West and the United States have played their active role of pursuing Israel or stopping it from prolonging this war.
Yeah, definitely,
against Gaza.
at least adhering the international law, international norms,
And
the system,
because their
human
sport,
rights law and all that.
At their sport, an unconditional sport at the earlier stage has given this particular brave heart to Israel to continue an unprecedented length of this war, because we have seen every second year Israel attack Gaza, but for 20 days, 25 days or a month. But
Definitely, your point well taken. Brigadier Retired Hamid, when we are talking about this whole situation which is going on in Gaza, in West Bank particularly, so how will you provide, how will you say that there would be a justice for the Palestinians?
I think we should remain positive, and we should will see, inshallah, justice for the Palestinian. It may take time, but with the transition of world from toward multipolarity, I think the hegemony or the strength of US is going to deplete with time to come, and the support to the aggressor and the, I think, very now the must say horrific state of Israel is going to deplete. Now the other world powers, that is Russia, China, and also the South, global South, what we say that when they will get that financial strength to challenge the global north, that America and also the European Union. And we are going to see that what ICJ has very clearly said, that
Palestinians want justice, really. Thank you very much, Brigadier Hamid, for your candid views. Thank you very much for joining us online. Thank you very much, Shabbir, being here in the studios. Thank you very much, Fraz, for being here. Viewers, as our panelists said, and it is a dire need that a resolution that was adopted in United Nations Security Council on 25th of March regarding the ceasefire, immediate ceasefire in Gaza and West Bank, that must have to be adhered. Along with that, a resolution that was moved by Pakistan on behalf of OIC in the United Nations Human Rights Council that must have to be adopted in full spirit to have arm embargo upon Israel. Along with that, there is a Palestinian letter to have full membership of the United Nations body that must have to be adhered. United Nations Security Council has to pass it, and afterwards a two-third majority into the United Nations General Assembly as well, so that there must have to be a two-state solution to this crisis, whatever is happening, and Israel must have to stop this inhuman act of bombardments and ground assaults in Gaza, and also skirmishes there in the West Bank as well. This is all today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.